So we just got back from the beach. It's one of those things where each year we try to take a little trip. Last year we vacationed with my family. This year we said we're gonna go hang out with Morgan's family. So we got a little house in Cape Hatteras for how many of us was it? I don't even know at this point. Probably 12. 5 couples, 3 kids, so that's 13. 13 people in one place. I like my silence a lot, and there wasn't a lot of silence in that place, except unless you got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, when it's only the wind and the waves outside. There's your silence. But if you've ever gone to the beach with little kids, sometimes they definitely like to play in the sand. And Tyler, throw up this picture for a second. So I got this bright idea, right? Ashby wanted ramps for his monster trucks. So I built a giant ramp for his monster trucks. And then I got him occupied over there. And then I roll over here, and I'm like, well, I'm going to make him a different kind of ramp. So I made him a turtle. If that looks like a turtle to you, I hope it does. Okay. So I'm working on this, right? And can you guess what happened? You got 2 options. I'm just going to throw it out there. What's option 1? The waves. Thanks, Avery. What's the other option? The kid, right? So you've got the waves in the background. You see it kind of creeping up, and then you got Ash. I mean, yes. But in the middle of it, right? So I'm like 90% done. And I've been working on, Morgan will tell you, I worked on this thing for at least 45 minutes. At least. She went for a walk, and she was almost back by the time I got done with this thing. And I imagine they walked 1.5 miles or something like that. But about 90% done, he like runs at it. And he's got monster truck in hand, bucket in the other. He's ready to do work on this turtle. And I was like, stop! Not yet. Let me finish this. So, and as I say that, actually this wave right here actually crashes into the backside of it. Doesn't mess it up, but it's like coming from every side. And like in this moment, Morgan will tell you, there's a lot of times where I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is an illustration someday, like this right here, yeah, Because I feel like this is where Jesus is bringing us this week. Because after I took this picture, he proceeded to run through it. And his back looked all sorts of jacked up. There's footprints everywhere. His head was over here. It's like the scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. He put my arms off and threw them over there. He took my legs off and threw them over there. Because that's what, he just wants to have fun with it. But for me, it's like I put all this work into it. Like, don't destroy it yet. And what Jesus is getting at in this passage is that there's things in this world that we're going to pursue that if they're out of place, if we love them and value them and treasure them more than God, we're going to subtly move them into a place where we feel like we have to protect them. Because what we've done is we've taken all of our purpose, our meaning, our value, our dignity, our worth, and we've lumped them in a place that was never meant to support him. We take blessings and make them ultimate, and we pursue them, right? So what Jesus is going to do today, he's going to challenge our earthly pursuits, and this is our redemption truth for today. It's that our earthly pursuits, and I'm just going to define it real quick. Our earthly pursuits, specifically Jesus is talking about, is about our money and our possessions. Like that's the overwhelming consensus. Money and possessions right here. Our earthly pursuits should be directed by a determined and devoted pursuit of God. More than anything else, our earthly pursuits shouldn't drive us. They shouldn't lead us. They should follow our determined and devoted pursuit of God. Because here's the thing. What you treasure, you chase. James speaks of it, right? When we chase the things we want, what happens? Our desire gives birth to sin, and sin gives birth to death. So we're built to pursue. So we trace what we treasure, right? And our chase affects who you are and how you act. It begins to affect our character. And in a broken world and in these broken bodies, our flesh is drawn to chase things that will never satisfy the deepest longings of our heart. You felt it. I felt it. At some point, we've chased something only to realize what Solomon says in Ecclesiastes is like grasping at the wind. We caught it, and when we looked in our hand, there was nothing. So Jesus, in this moment, right, he wants to instruct us that we're meant to pursue our Creator. And that when our first pursuit, this week and next week, when we seek first his kingdom, right, that then other things fall in line. And that his love is meant to direct that earthly pursuit. So what I want to go at here is in these few verses, there's three kind of warnings and corrections. Because did y'all feel the kind of back and forth? This, but this. If this, but this. And then he kind of sums it up in the end. So we're going to try to kind of do the same thing. And the first thing is that earthly pursuits seek to distract us from our pursuit of the kingdom. Remember, we defined earthly pursuits, as Jesus is kind of doing here, as your money and your possessions. Money and possessions. Materialism. Right? That's not an issue today, right? We have enough stuff, correct? Like we don't spend billions of dollars in U-Haul storage facilities in order to store the extra stuff that doesn't fit in our house. We don't have that problem. But it was a big problem for the hypocrites of the day, right? And we just read it right in Matthew 6, right? Don't be like the hypocrites who want the praise and the applause. They want the attention, finance, like they want these other things. And God said, no. The reward is when you seek me diligently in your giving and your praying and your fasting. And he's going to dread. So he uses this word. If we go to verse 19 real quick, he says right off the bat, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Don't store up. And like my translation of it is going to be like this, is that the intentional gathering of possessions for a purpose. The intentional gathering of possessions for a purpose, right? Because a lot of times we don't just store up things just to look at them. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do it because we don't want to get rid of things. Let's just be honest. We have a heart, we attach some sentimental value. There's a memory that's attached to it, even though we haven't seen this thing. Ask Morgan, like when we moved out of my house that I lived in Cullowhee, preparing to be married, we looked at this place and like we're going through my stuff, and we're looking at this one closet and like, why do you have all this stuff, Andrew? I was like, well, this is da-da-da-da-da, and this is that. I could start naming out where I was at, why I have this, what it's attached, like, but I haven't touched that stuff in years. I had lived in Cullowhee at that point for 8 years, and I ain't moved in that closet very much. Other than to move it around to find something else. We all do it. We store up things. And if it's not possessions for you, maybe you store up finances above and beyond what's reasonable. Maybe it's, I think right now about sometimes we store up hurts. We store up applause. We store up, like I'm going to stretch it just a little bit. Like we're looking for these things of earth to inform us of who we are and how we should live. And if we're not careful, we make this Mount Rushmore type moment in our life of things that were never meant to hold that weight. Because you see, like in this chapter so far, right, he's had this theme of reward and treasure. And the reward is always something that is, we want to seek the things that are stored up in heaven. And even in this verse, he says it. And the hypocrites are seeking those things, like that applause, that praise, that money, those things that we think will keep us safe and secure. Because we all want that. We want safety and security. I would even throw in convenience. But the things that received the reward in the kingdom were things like suffering persecution, loving your enemies, giving to the poor, sincere prayer, humble fasting. These are the things that receive the heavenly reward. And what we have to do is we have to allow here an inspection of our life and ask the question, right? Where are we storing up things? Are they things that they seem like they're protected at the moment, but we've seen so many times they just get removed? Somebody takes them, an emergency happens, and we like all of a sudden we're like, what are we gonna do? Like, that's where we begin to inspect our heart. Because that's where Jesus goes in verse 21, right? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And for us, like sometimes we can think of heart as like it's the thing that pumps the blood through our body, right? It's got 4 chambers, it's got several valves and stuff that into the lung, out to the lungs, back out to the body. Like we can think of it like that, but for the Jewish community, right? It's that seat of the soul. It's where like our movement in how we live and the character we have, our integrity is shaped. That drives us. It's the motives. And we've said it many times, the heart of the issue is an issue of the heart. And that's where Jesus locates it, right? Is in the heart. If you jumped over, and we don't have it in there, so don't worry about it. Luke 12, 16 through 21. There's this man who's like, he has all this stuff, right? And his response is what? He builds bigger barns. I need more room. I need a bigger house. I need another bank account. I need more space to put more stuff that I'll never use. I have more than enough, but rather than let it overflow to those around me who God has placed intentionally in my life, I'm just going to store it up more just in case. Like the world ends, I guess, because that's a lot of food. And Jesus, what does he do? God comes into that moment in Jesus' parable and he goes, tonight, your life is going to be required of you. So who's that stuff really for? Right? You should have been rich towards God in this moment with the blessing that God has given you. So you see, right? You see what it can happen when we turn earthly treasures into these idols, to these things that we're trying to make security and safety for ourselves. They distract us, right? They distract us from pursuing the kingdom. They distract us from giving to the poor. They distract us from prayer. They distract us from fasting. We begin to rely more on ourselves to protect our kingdom than God's kingdom. We are meant to be rich towards God by leveraging what he has blessed us with to reach others, right? It's a determined pursuit of God requires constant mindfulness of our earthly pursuits. Paul's going to enter into the conversation in 1 Timothy 6. He says, instruct those who are rich in the present age not to be arrogant or to set up their hope on uncertainty of wealth, but on God, who richly provides with all the things to enjoy. Verse 18 says, instruct them to do what is good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and willing to share, storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the coming age in heaven, so that they may take hold of what is truly life. If you're grabbing for the things of this world and you're unable to open your hand to let God do with it what it wants, you're going to choke the life out of the blessing that was meant to pass from you to someone else. And in the process, you're going to starve yourself. I'm going to starve myself of what God really wants to do. The true life that God wants to give us by seeking him first, right? And we felt that, right? We felt that distraction. And earthly pursuits not only seek to distract us, what else do? We move to the next couple of verses, and earthly pursuits try to divide our focus, leading us into darkness. Right? Like, I'm not very good at multitasking. I think statistics say most guys aren't. But here's the thing. Is like when I start focusing on, like if I get distracted by something and then my focus is divided, things get left undone. And honestly, chaos ensues, right? There's a whole bunch of little things that aren't done. And it actually drives pressure in your life because then you feel like you're always trying to catch up and you never have this moment of peace, right? And the enemy is good at this. The enemy is good at taking things in your life and trying to take your focus off what you're supposed to be focusing on. In verse 22, it says, the eye is the lamp of the body. The eye is the lamp of the body. We have that saying, right? We have that saying that says, the eyes are the window to the soul. And for us, like that usually means like if you look in somebody's eyes, you can kind of tell sometimes you can tell what they're thinking. Sometimes you can kind of see what, if you're talking about your spouse, you're like, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Stop it. Like, or we can kind of see kind of their demeanor. What is it? 90% of your communication is nonverbal, right? So you look in your eyes and you can kind of tell the intent. You can see some things that aren't always visible in actions, right? They reveal their intent and everything is going on with it. But for Jesus, though, the eyes are the focus of our life and what we're pursuing. Like the eyes let light into the body, right? He's gonna go there in a second, right? If your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light, right? It's like so, and I love that the word he used for good here, right, is not what we would typically think is good. Like it's good, right? It actually means single, which is why most commentators are thinking like, no, okay, it's a single focus that is good. And I'm gonna give you one guess as to what your single focus should be that Jesus is calling good, that brings in the light, that takes the windows of this room and opens the blinds and lets all that natural light in and livens up the space, right? He says there's a single pursuit that you should have, a single focus that brings in the light. That our emotions, our desires, our character, our possessions are directed by what we are focused on the most. And that's where you now see why he started with don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Let your heart be focused on the kingdom first. Let what you treasure, the most weight you place in something, like if I had a chair right now, like you don't know if that chair is going to hold you until you actually sit down, right? What you treasure, the full confidence and trust, place it in God and his kingdom. And focus there. What does he say? How should I live in this moment? How should I navigate this space? Because if I don't do that, then the opposite side, right? But if your eye is bad, if I'm chasing the things of this world, if I'm focused in too many different places, trying to, man, God, I trust you, but let me give you a backup plan just in case you don't actually come through like you've promised. Let me make a safety net so that I don't fall too far because I don't know that you're strong enough to do what you said you've done. We would never say that, but a lot of times that's kind of the hidden motive. Which is scary, right? We would never say it to his face, but he already knows our thoughts. So if you're thinking he already knows it, like that's scary, right? But it's like in John, let's go to John 3. Here's what he says about our heart apart from God, right? For everyone who does evil hates the light and avoids it. so that his deeds may not be exposed. The real motives of why you're doing things won't be exposed. But anyone who lives by the truth comes to the light so that his works may be shown to be accomplished by God. Here we go. We're giving glory back to God. It's not about what I get out of this situation. It's about, was God made much of in the things that I focused on in my life? Was it his kingdom or my kingdom? Am I pursuing security in him no matter what's going on, the waves, the wind, everything that's happening around me right now? Am I focused on his ability to do everything he said he would do? Because when that's our focus, no matter what's going on around us, it's light and bright and security and safety. There's a space for our questions. There's space for our emotions. There's these boundaries where we can live openly, fully known, fully loved, give God the doubt, give God all the questions, give God everything we have about this moment. Because we know and we're focused on the fact that he is a good God, a good father who loves his kids, who gives good gifts to his children. That nothing passes through his hand that he will not deliver us from and walk us through. He gives us the Beatitudes. Mourn your sinfulness. Mourn the brokenness of this world. Drive it to the humility that you actually can't do anything about it in your own power. But then hunger and thirst for the righteousness that God promises to give you, promises to fill you with, to handle this moment. No temptation comes that he doesn't provide a way out. He doesn't expect you to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps and walk. He knows the situation before it gets there. And when your focus is drawn off by possessions and by money, my ability to do the things that only God can do, we make a shipwreck of our life and our faith. That's what happens. That's why it's this darkness. And think about it, man. Think about what he says. Like if your eye is bad, if your focus is off, if your focus is bad, how deep is that darkness? Have you ever found yourself in that place? Like when you're like, how did I get here? How do I get out of here? And it's a simple, that's why we sing the song Simple Pursuit. It's a simple answer with hard steps. Where we have to shift our focus off of these things around us that seem to be falling apart, the things that are going good, but we're like, I don't know, that doesn't help me. Like we actually have to get our focus off of ourselves up to God. And as we shift our gaze, you're going to hear me use this. As we shift our gaze, we should see the cross in the middle because the cross is actually what bridges the gap. It's what brings us into right relationship with God. That apart from this cross, that the blood is dripping down, covering all the brokenness down here, we have no way to get here. So you can never seek heavenly things unless you know the Heavenly Father through Jesus. And as we do that, we have to focus on the fact that he did these things and that we are in him and he is in us and we are in God. We have everything we need. But we battle this flesh, as Paul talks about. The things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I do. Wretched man that I am. God understands the enemy's plan. He understands that if he can distract you, and if he can divide your focus, he can keep you in ineffectiveness. That's why you've got the parable of the sower and those weeds, and what happens with the weeds. It chokes out the things of the kingdom. And if you've believed and you trust him, the only way the devil can get you is if he makes you ineffective. He is perfectly content to let you, C.S. Lewis, I think, in Screw Tape Letters, he is perfectly content to let you coast through life ineffective, succeeding at things that do not matter. never making an impact that you were designed to make because your focus is not on the kingdom of heaven. That's what he wants. So he wants us, right? He wants us to step in, and that our focus must be solely devoted to advancing the kingdom. Our focus must be solely devoted to advancing the kingdom, right? So it's like as we see these things, as we begin to have these self-assessments, and we see that our focus is divided, we actually have to take a step and do something about it. We have to understand that God has placed us in the school. He has placed us in the workplace. He has placed us at the YMCA. He has placed us in this body. He has placed us in this community for the purpose of advancing his kingdom. And the greatest life and light that we will ever have is by investing what God has entrusted to us to reach people far from him. That is a purpose that will never go away until God returns. And that is the purpose that more than a job could ever do will drive you every day, no matter what situation you find yourself in. That purpose never changes. It's always constant. Like the click I have in my ear with the tracks, it always beats on time. It never moves. Ain't that right, Melanie? It always stays on time. Whether I play on time or not, I can always default to it. I can always default to the kingdom to set the tempo for my life, to set the focus of where I'm supposed to be. It's meant to bring me back into that moment, to be devoted to advancing the kingdom in my finances, in my health, in my spiritual life, in my social life, in my mental life, my emotional life, all the areas of health. If I'm praying that the kingdom comes there and that drives me out to those around me. Because if I'm not okay, I can't be any earthly good, right? I can't move. And you see, because ultimately, right, earthly pursuits tempt us to be disloyal to the true king. We go to verse 24 and it says, no one can serve two masters, since either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Like, we're confronted pretty quickly here with the fact that we're meant to serve somebody. In Deuteronomy 6, it would say, the Lord our God, the Lord, same word in the Greek, than the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, like Lord. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. Shall love, we taught Ashby this, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Because that's our greatest service. That's how we move out into our family, into our friend group, into our community, into our work, anywhere you're sent. It's who are you serving? Am I serving myself or am I serving God? Am I serving the kingdom of this world or am I serving the kingdom of heaven? Am I serving the king of this planet, which would be Satan, or am I serving the king of all creation? Which master do I choose? There is no middle ground. You can't ride the fence. Maybe always defaults to no. So which master? No one can serve two masters. Because have you ever been like somebody interrupts your plans with something important, but it changes. And in that moment you have this thing, you can either get mad and upset about the fact that, man, my cause has now been interrupted to deal with this. And yeah, there's boundaries, there's healthy things, but what about when God interrupts your plans? What about God when God allows emergencies to enter in? God allows health crises. God allows strife as a means. He never does it maliciously. He can't be tempted with evil. He's not going to tempt you with evil, right? But he allows it to check things in your life. Where am I focused? What has my heart? And I believe what he's doing is he's reminding us that we can only be devoted to service of one king. And we have to do the honest heart work of God, what do you want me to do with this? And he doesn't beat us over the head with it. Like if you find yourself in here today going, yeah, I'm serving myself in these areas. Now we're gonna look at them here when we get to our questions, not yet. But like we think about it, like there's things that God has already brought to mind today to go, I might be living for that. I might place a little more weight in this than needs to be. I may have built my identity around helping people, doing the right things, fitting in, being seen as fill in the blank, being successful, having this number in the bank account, doing this with my retirement. And when we feel that weight, what it's meant to do is remind us that we don't have to do it on our own. It's not God trying to smack us and say, get in line. It's actually saying, turn around, I'm right here with you. Like it's the prodigal son. He's running towards him before the son even gets. He's like, come on back. Come on. Looking for him. I can picture him like I would do every day. I would stand on my porch. I'd look out the door and say, come on back. Your mistakes don't define you. Your mess ups, the mud that covers you doesn't define you. Your doubts don't define you. Your frustrations don't, your anger don't. These things don't define you. They may mark this moment, but they can't determine the value of your heart, the value of your life. He's calling you back into service of him. And to let that moment, to enter into service to the king, the only king, and to begin to let those things trickle down into the other things, into where I'm working and what my job looks like, into my finances. Man, am I making space to bless those around me who may have a need? Are we as a church looking into the community going, where has God assigned us to make an impact? He gives us things to pass through us into people who need them. Not so that we get the acclaim and the praise, but so that he gets the glory. So that he is made much of, so that they come to know there's a Father who is looking over them no matter where they find themselves. And that he wants a relationship with them. And he has made a way. We can only be in devoted service to one king. So our earthly pursuits seek to distract us. They divide our focus. And ultimately, they seek to make us disloyal to the king. Where do you find yourself today? Our earthly pursuits should be directed by a determined and devoted pursuit of God. Where are you?